What's up, everybody? This is the Gridiron Gilly Show. I'm the host, Gridiron Gilly. Today I have Coach Heath Clawson with the Woodville Eagles with me. Coach, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Connor. Appreciate it, man. How are you?
Couldn't be better. Anytime I can talk about football is a good time for me. Coach, I know nothing about you. I know this is your first year at Woodville, and I know what that program did last year. They went to their first state championship, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. First thing I just want to know, Coach, what got you into coaching, where all you coached at, and then after you say all that, if you want to talk about your players or your coaching staff.
Well, I appreciate it. First of all, thanks a lot for having me on. It was funny when I was, growing up, I love sports, all sports, and whatever season was in, I was ready to go, and excited to go watch the older kids play, and and then do those things myself. And my sister didn't start sports until she was in seventh grade, but she was 6 years older than me, so I started pretty young, and just loved everything about competition, and just if there was a ball, let's go, and or track, running, and loved it. And so I love playing, and had dreams of playing college and then going pro and all that, and something. And but coaching was not kind of what I thought I was going to do. I thought that I would be. I think I really was into like jets and aeronautical engineering and that kind of stuff. And then I thought, well, maybe I want to be an attorney. And so I went through all these things, and started college, and I was trying to do engineering while playing ball, and that was a challenge. But that's kind of what I thought I was going to do. And then my sophomore year in college, I kind of thought, what's the good Lord want me to do, and just kind of felt called to take the path to being a coach. And so that kind of was my plan. And it was funny that it happened at that time, because the next fall I got injured, and it just basically kind of put my career just about over. And so then I kind of started transitioning to going into the coaching field and profession, and I just really started just kind of loving everything that it was about, getting to stay around sports and being competitive, and I loved helping kids. And so I got opportunity to do that. My first job was in Del Valle outside of Austin, and it was funny. I grew up in a small town, and small school, and I go to a large school right off the bat, and it was a little bit different from the way I grew up, but had a great time, loved it there, and got my feet wet there for a couple of years. Then I moved to Poth after that, and my buddy who was the best man at my wedding, actually, his dad was the AD head football coach there, and he said, "Hey, my dad's got a job. If you want to go down there, it's a pretty good place." And so I went to a school similar to what I grew up in down there, and did that for a couple of years. And he told me, he said, "Hey, being a young coach, you need to do this for 2 or 3 years, and then you need to, go somewhere else." And so I said, okay. So after a couple of years, I took a job at Highland Park in Dallas, made a jump to another big school with a lot of success, a lot of tradition, and learned a lot there as well. It was a lot of fun. And I got an opportunity to be a coordinator for the first time after a year there in Highland Park, and I loved it there. But got a chance to be a defensive coordinator on Eugene Rogers' staff in Manor outside of Austin. And so went there, and they had struggled. However, we actually won the district after they hadn't made the playoffs in a few years. And so, we won the district, and but sadly, Coach Rogers was not renewed, and had to move on. So I did as well. And I went on and, got to be a co-offensive coordinator at Bernie Champion for 3 years. And we went to the state quarterfinals my third year there. And that was a lot of fun. We got to go against, Kerrville Tivy and Johnny Manziel, and, Cibolo Steele with Malcolm Brown. And just, there was a lot of great athletes in that district. And so that was a good challenge for me as a coordinator to go against some of those types of people and teams and stuff. And so anyway, that was great. Did that for 3 years. In the meantime, my dad had passed away, and so I moved a little closer to my mom to help her out. And so I went to Copper's Cove, and had a really good year there. Then went back to being a coordinator. My wife and I got married and moved to Poteet and down in south of San Antonio. Was the defensive coordinator there for a couple of years and got those guys improved. And then the head coach, AD, left. And so I went up to Newman Smith in Carrollton for a couple of years. And Coach Ressa up there had offered me a job a couple times before. And he called me and offered me again. So I decided to take it. And so went up there for 2 years and got them back in the playoffs for 2 years as the co-OC. And then got my first head job at Louise, a small school between Victoria and Sugar Land. And, you never know what you're going to get at 2A Division II schools from year to year. And we were able to get in the playoffs all 3 years. Had some tough teams there with Falls City and Flatonia and Burton and those guys, but made the playoffs every year. Then we had our son, and I got a chance to go to Aledo after 3 years of being the AD head coach at Louise, and I thought, man, I can't pass that up. And so my mom lived right there. She subbed at Aledo, and I said, well, I'm going to go up there for 2 years. And I'll be darned, we won both state championship both years I was there. That was pretty cool. Went through COVID and all that, and then I said, man, I'm ready to run a program again. And so after my second year there, I got the AD head football job at Elgin. And, they had struggled for a while, hadn't made the playoffs and since 2014. When I got there, I knew it was going to be tough. They were remote, and the year before, and the kids were not, training or anything. And so we went 0-10, and we hit it hard though, and had a great off season, and went 7-3 the next year, and we're in every game we played. And so that was a lot of fun. And then this last year, we won the first playoff game in 10 years there. And so it was a lot of fun there, and being there for 4 years and kind of growing that program. And then, good Lord called and said, hey, would like for you to come to Woodville. I just, a lot of signs pointing to it. And so we landed here in May, and here we are. So it's been a fun journey to this point, and moved around a little bit, and, been a coordinator on both sides of the ball, been an AD head coach. Now this is my third place, and man, it's been a lot of fun.
Yes, sir. Texas must be a really big state, because half those schools you named I've never heard of. I know Highland Park, Poth, and then what'd you say?
You probably know Aledo. You should know Aledo.
Aledo.
Yeah. Bernie Chief has been pretty good over the years.
I never heard of any of those other ones. But I don't know what you can see all on my wall here. I know it kind of zooms in and zooms out, whatever. But I got an SMU flag. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got an SMU flag over here.
I see half of it, yep.
Okay, yeah, because they're in Highland Park.
Yep.
And, how long has Randy Allen, how long has he been there? Was he there when you were there?
He was there when I was there, and gosh, I don't even know, because he was obviously there for a while before I got there, and that was in 06, 07. It was the year I went there the year after Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw and those guys graduated. Okay. So I'll be there next year.
I thought he had been there for a long time, but yeah, that's one of my favorite high school programs to follow, Highland Park, and then I like SMU too. I like one of their games. They're always a good time.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm glad you mentioned that. Elgin?
Elgin, yep.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I didn't know how to pronounce it, if it was Elgin or Elgin or whatever. But, yeah, I was going to congratulate you on the new job, because obviously, in my opinion, I feel like you have to be a good coach to get that job after they just went to their first state championship in school history. Coach leaves. I guess he got a better opportunity or whatever. But now they're looking for somebody to take over the program again. And obviously they're going to want to maintain that success, Yeah. So you're the man for the job, obviously.
Yeah, it's, it was kind of surreal when I got that call. And it was kind of funny because, my wife is from south of San Antonio, and I'm from Central Texas, a little place called Meridian between Waco and Stephenville. And, East Texas is, every once in a while we went to East Texas, but for something, but that was it, and so it wasn't something where it's like, oh, we got family out here, or it's a place that we said we were always going to move to. And so when Woodville came open, I didn't really, I just thought, oh, that's interesting. They just went to the state championship, and wonder why the guy left, got a better opportunity, or it's one of those things where, hey, they're losing everybody, and so it's like, well, I'm gonna go try somewhere else. But the only thing I know about Woodville, obviously, was in East Texas. But my cousin had lived here for 4 years, from like 2015 to 2019. He left right before COVID hit to move to Fredericksburg, and he managed the Texas Farm Bureau branch out here. And so while he lived out here, I mean, he told us where he was moving to, but I didn't know anything about it. And he just said, "Man, it's beautiful out there. I love it. The people are awesome, and all that." And so I knew that about it. So those are the three things I knew. It was in East Texas. They'd gone to state championship last year, and my cousin said it was a great place. Enjoyed living here. That was it. And so I didn't say, "Man, I'm gonna go try to get that job." And it's funny how that works. And I guess the week after it opened, I'm at home on a Saturday, and my phone goes off. I look at it, and it's Dr. Colwell from the search firm, and he says, "Hey, man, would you be interested in the Woodville job?" And I said, "Huh, well, that's cool," And so I told my wife, and I said, "Well," I said, "he just asked me, well, you think I should take a look at it?" And she said, "I guess it wouldn't hurt," And I said, "Okay." And so I started looking at it. I called my cousin, and he said, "Man, if I could pick up Woodville and move it over here," he said, "Man, I just loved living there." He said, just everything about it was great. And I mean, he said, like, literally the only drawback is you got to drive 30 miles to go to the mall, or things like that, or Lowe's or whatever. But other than that, he said, "Man, it was great." And so I started kind of taking a look at it, and I didn't jump on it at first. I kind of talked to Dr. Colwell and talked to a couple other people, and then a few days goes by, and I was a finalist for a couple other jobs, actually 3 jobs at the same time, that were all pretty good jobs. And so I kind of felt like I was going to get one. I mean, you're a finalist for 3, you think one of them's probably going to go to you. And anyway, as I waited on those jobs and to see what was going to happen and stuff, and went to interviews and things like that, I just kind of every now and then would either hear from Dr. Colwell, or I would ask a question. And so over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, it kind of became this thing where it's like, man, I kind of like the idea of it, and so I kind of went through the process of those other 3 jobs and ended up, I know I got second for 2 of them for sure. And, I thought, man, if I was supposed to get something else, I felt like I would have already gotten it by now. If not, maybe I'm supposed to stay in Elgin. And then as Woodville kind of kept going, and it obviously came to fruition, and, it kind of was a little bit longer process than I expected. And so it got almost to May. It was right there at the end of April. And I thought, well, maybe it's not meant to be. But the weekend after I interviewed, I was laying in bed just wide awake. And I said, look, I was just talking to God, and I said, man, if you want me to take that job, they call me and offer it, I'm going to take it. If they call and say it's not me, then we're staying in Elgin, and, we're going to run it back and see if we can do this next year. That was Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon, superintendent called me and offered the job. I said, well, I already made the deal, so I'll take it. So it's been great since we got here. People have been awesome. The staff that was retained have been phenomenal, and the community and the people and the support, the administration have been just top notch, better than I could have ever imagined, to be honest with you. And the kids have really taken to me and my family and and the new coaches I brought with me really well. And so it's been a great experience so far.
Yes, sir. We played Woodville in high school only 2 years. It was my senior year and then the year after. And that's all I know about them, is that they were a little bit bigger than us, and they beat us both years. Like, they were pretty good. I think they were of those years, they were probably like 7-3 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They played better competition than what we did. Yeah, I mean they were always tough. Like we had trouble with them back then, and like I said, that was 2014 and 2015 when we played them. I do this with every coach I interview. I go look at what the program has done the last 10 years, and I was surprised they have 9 winning seasons and 1 losing season in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had mentioned a while ago, when they hired you, obviously, there's a lot of schools that can maintain that success, and they're always deep in the playoffs in the state championship year in and year out. Some teams, it's one and done. They'll go, and then 20 years later they might go again.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to do that. So they hired you with the intention of you keeping up with that success, I guess you could say. What do you bring to Woodville that you think you are the man for the job, that you think you can to build on what's what they had there, I guess?
You know, one thing I've prided myself on, that my dad instilled in me, my coaches when I was growing up instilled in me was being a hard worker, not letting other people outwork you, and preparing, and kind of. My dad always said, crossing your T's and dotting your I's and all that. Um, I think that. I think I have pretty good organizational skills, and that I'm going to work really hard. And I think that has been, a couple of things that I've tried to stand on, because kind of like we tell our kids, those things you can control those things. It's kind of we tell the kids they can control your attitude and your effort, right? And there's a lot of other things you can't control. And so I can control, how hard I work and how hard, we work as a program. And that we're organized, and that we continue to look daily about where can we improve and how can we get better. And so those couple of things we prided ourselves on, and I think that those things stood out to them. And I think another thing that stood out to them was that I'm kind of big on being a family atmosphere. Where honestly, we I tell them we put your faith first. We put our family next, and then we put our job behind that, and to keep a good balanced life and keep our priorities in perspective, and in the right in the right places. And I just feel like sometimes we get so consumed with winning a game or whatever, and I look back over the years, and I thought about how the years that we worked, or I worked so many hours, or I was up there 7 days a week, and maybe not going to church on Sunday, and being up there all day Saturday. I mean, I was places where we worked from 7 a.m. on Saturday till 9 or 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday, and I was at places where on Sunday we went up there at like 10 a.m. and left at 8 or 9 p.m. And I thought about those years, and I thought about how many games did I feel like we won that we wouldn't have if we hadn't worked so much, and not very many was the answer, and so I really started working on figuring out how to be really efficient with our time, and I also learned some of that. Coach Buck at Alito did a great job of that, and so I tried to find ways for us to be efficient and get the work in that we need, but allow people to have the opportunity to, not miss out on the things that, are there for your family, be there for your family, not miss out on your kids things, your games and things, stuff like that. And so
Yes,
in the interview process, when I kind of talked about that stuff, and then they asked, I guess, people, if that's what I was truly about, or if I, just kind of said those things. And they said, no, he means it, and I do. I want it to be a family atmosphere. We have kids over, when we can, and we have team dinners, and, and we try to do that for all the programs. And, obviously that takes some parental involvement, and commitment and buy-in to doing those things. But this is a place that seems to have that. And so we've already had that going to this point, and they've just really enjoyed those things. And so I also try to remember that they're games, and we're going to be hard on the kids, and we push them, and we want them to do right, and we're on them, pretty hard to do things right and be their best. But at the end of the day, they're kids playing a game, and or games, in different sports that they're in. But when we remember that, and that there's a lot more things in this world and life that are more important, then I think it keeps things in perspective.
I guess I should go ahead and tell you this because I don't want to just throw a curveball at you. I forgot to tell you earlier, but at the end of every episode, I hit a coach with a scenario, like an in-game scenario, and
Okay.
then I usually put them on the spot, but they're easy scenarios. I mean, this one's pretty easy too. I feel like. So far this season, you've played 3 games. You're 2-1. You lost to Orangefield, which I don't know where that's at. You beat Anahuac and you beat Cold Spring Oakhurst, and I think I know where both of those places are. But
Yep.
this week you play at Diboll, and I just saw that Blake Morrison he just became the winningest coach in Diboll school history. Surpassed 77, or I think he got his 77th win there this past Friday night. I'm not sure who they played, but they're riding high right now in Diboll. And you go on the road to play those guys this week. How do you make sure he doesn't meet 78 this Friday night?
Uh, well, after this Friday night, I hope they win the rest of them. But if he's going to lose another one this year, I hope it's Friday night. But no, it's awesome. He's obviously done a great job there. Everything I've heard about him and his program and the kids there, that they play hard. I know that the coaches that have been here in Woodville for a little while, they told me this weekend was we were starting to, we were game planning for them and watching their film and stuff. They said no matter whether they were really good or maybe down a little bit from year to year, that Diboll always gave Woodville a great game. They played hard. The kids will be prepared. Coach Morrison had them prepared, and so I know that we're going to get their best. And as we get ready to roll into district, this is our last dress rehearsal, as you call it, before we hit district. And so I'm hoping, that we have the kids, prepared and they're ready to go, and don't look past these guys into district. I think it's a good matchup. They have some talented kids. They have a running back, a quarterback that can make plays. They've got some good aggressive guys on the lines. And then they've got, a couple of pretty good skill guys there in their secondary and wide receiver. And so I know it's going to be a good challenge for us and a good matchup. And I think if we're, if we go into it not overlooking them, we'll have a good shot to come out on top. But we know that we're going to get a good game from Diboll, especially on their home field. So, like I said, I hope that Coach Morrison has a great season this year after Friday night.
We don't have to talk about it, but 3A Division 2, Region 3, District 11, yes. Last year, this is how it went. It was Newton, Woodville, Anderson Shiro, New Waverly, Koontz, Trinity Warren. The experts say that's going to happen again, so that's how they have it in the Texas Football Magazine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you still have these guys at these positions, but I just wrote down a couple things. I said your running back Barlow last year, he had almost 1,200 yards on the ground, 16 touchdowns, and you had a quarterback Babin, I think 2,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, and then 350 yards, 5 touchdowns on the running the football. Are those guys still playing those positions this year?
Yes, sir.
What offensive scheme are you running at Woodville?
We're a spread offense, and we some people kind of say we're spread. We throw the ball over the field, or they say we're spread and we run zone and we throw the ball. Some people say we run spread, but we run it nearly every play. Spread everybody out so we can just run the ball. And I like to think of us being a multiple type of offense where we can get in a lot of different formations. We base out of a spread. We've got some power run game concepts in, as well as some spread run game concepts in, and then we like to dabble kind of in play action, quick game, RPOs, and sprint out. And so we try to keep it fairly simple, but for our kids, by doing a little bit of those things, each one of those things, being able to attack defenses in a variety of ways depending on what their scheme is, or maybe where their strengths are, and so it gives us kind of multiple opportunities. You may look at us and we have 2 tight ends in, and then the next play or next series, we're 4 wide. And so, most of the time you're going to see us in a spread type of offense. A lot of times we'll have a 2 backs on the backfield though. And so, it's a spread offense, but we've got a little bit of variety of things that we can do in there that, try to give different ways to attack defenses, that, where we can, put our kids in the best, position to be successful.
Who do you have circled? I guess a game you have circled, if you even have one.
I think everybody around here had Newton circled. I mean, it's kind of it's a rivalry. It's a yearly, can Woodville beat Newton? Because that's what it's been. Obviously Newton is one of the teams that's kind of set the standard in this area, from year to year, and they're almost always pretty dang good. And it's never a surprise to see them as a contender, for going to state. And so that's obviously a circled game, if you want to call it that. And I think everybody, I told her when I got here, like all these people they haven't recently, but when I first got here and as I met people up to the start of the season, we're going back state this year. Just try to remind them that not only is each season different and you have a different team, no matter how many you have back or how many you lost, that even the best teams have to stay healthy. They have to have some luck along the way, and you have to, you have to sometimes catch somebody who might be better than you on a down night, and so there's a lot of things that have to happen, and so everybody starts saying we'd love to go to Jerry World, right? Go to the state championship game. And so, you could say that's circled because they actually, got to get there for the first time last year. But along the way, to me, I just told the kids again this morning at practice, and I said, man, it's hard sometimes to not look ahead, especially as maybe one of those red letter games is coming up, you start kind of eyeing them, a little bit. And I said, you can't overlook who you're playing this week because you can't play those people yet. You can't play somebody that you're looking at in 3 weeks, of knowing that our rivalry's coming up, or hey, let's look at that. Who we're going to face in the second or third round, maybe if we can get there. It's all about this week. And so, for me, it's, knowing, what games are coming up, when they're coming up, but circling the game that's up that week and making sure we don't look past it. So I actually, and a lot of coaches are different in this aspect, but I actually don't watch film on other teams, until, we finish playing, until they're up that week. And, so, that's just kind of me and what I do. Now I may go scout if I get an opportunity, I'll go scout a team, but, I don't sit and start watching film or breaking down on them until I get there. And then I'll watch them a lot.
This question right here, this was another question asked to me the other night. So the question is, what's the value of a head coach in your opinion?
I tell people, most, I think only 1 or 2 of the years I've been a head coach, I haven't actually been calling plays, where I've allowed my OC to do it, but, I'm calling them again this year. Man, I tell people that about 2% of my job at best, 1% probably, is calling plays, on a Friday night. And, it was funny with the other night, and it's so funny because I had a situation where I had told 2 different times this year, I told kids about the value of kids executing the kids executing the play that's called on the field. And I told them a story about when I was at Bernie Champion, and I was the co-offensive coordinator there. And we would make a decision on what we were going to call it. And so anyway, I signaled the plays in. And so we were 3rd and short on about our own 30-yard line. It was a tight game. It was a good game. And so we decided we were going to call a particular run. And so we were on wristbands, and I signaled the call in for the wristband call, and they got it and they ran the play. And as the ball was snapped, we realized we were not running the play that we had intended to call because I signaled it wrong. And so, which we weren't sure until it was all said and done that I had actually signaled in the wrong play. But anyway, I sent the wrong signal in, and the kids ran a pass play that was probably not ideal for 3rd and 3. And we proceeded to score a 70-yard touchdown on it. And of course, everybody's going crazy. It was a great call, and all this kind of stuff. And we're over there, and the head coach is mad at me and all this for signaling the wrong play. And so anyway, I always laugh about that because the kids executed the play on the field, and it wasn't the right play in the right situation, but it worked. And sometimes you call the perfect play and a kid slips or misses a block, or one kid goes the wrong way, or whatever it is, and it turns out to look terrible, but it was a perfect call in the situation or whatever. And it happened the other night where the coach I have that signals the plays in signal in a different call than what I said. And I'll be darned, we threw a touchdown pass. And ironically, it was supposed to be a pass, but he signaled in a completely different pass than what we were supposed to do. And the kid was open and he scored. And so anyway, it was funny. And he felt so bad. Coach, I'm so sorry. He was so mad at himself that he heard me wrong. And I was just laughing. And he just kept saying, I'm sorry, coach. I'm sorry, coach. And I said, man, I learned a long time ago, man, that if the 11 kids that are on the field, if they execute the play, you got a chance to be successful. And so, I just laugh about that stuff when, people, are hollering, what are we doing? We should run the ball. We should throw the ball, this and that. And people put a whole lot more stake in all that stuff than it really is. Really what to me, being a head coach and the bulk of it, 90+% of it, is the daily operations that go on, from handling the kids, from organizing, practice to the times that you're doing things, how much time you're spending on different things, from practice to weights and film. And, are you taking care of the kids while you're still pushing them? Are you taking care of your coaches and making sure that they have time with their families so that they stay refreshed? Are you pushing the kids to be, the best they can be? And there's a fine line, I think, from pushing them to where they're tough and they're physical and all that before you overdo things where they start getting too fatigued, and stuff like that. And so there's so many things that go into it. And then you start getting into the kids with their grades and are they behaving in class and are they showing up to things on time? There's so many things that go into running a program that have nothing to do. Well, I say nothing to do that people don't see. They don't have anything to do from the game time moments. And so there's so many strategical and organizational things that kind of are intertwined throughout the week and throughout the season and throughout the year that most people don't see or have any idea about. They have no clue, and so those things are really important, I think, to me as a head coach. And then from there, it's kind of about style and philosophy. Some head coaches think, hey, I'm going to be the fun rah-rah guy, and my coaches or assistants are going to be, my coordinators or assistants are going to be the guys that are kind of hollering and screaming at the kids or whatever it is, and all that. And I'm kind of more of the I'm going to be tough on them and hard on them and make sure things are being done right. And I've got to pay attention to those little things that when I see something out of line, that we need to get it straight and all that sort of stuff, and let my coaches coach and let them build those tight relationships with their position players so that, they can get the most out of them. And so, and I try to let them worry about the kids and those relationships and just kind of their play and on the field and their technique and things like that. So that I can kind of take a lot of that stuff off of them, that they don't have to worry about it as much. And so, yeah, it's just kind of my philosophy. I get pretty fired up on the sidelines. I get excited. I'm a passionate coach. I love the game. I love the competition. And, so I really enjoy the things that happen on a Friday night. And I get excited. But at the same time, I have to pull myself down a little bit during the game so that I can keep my head, and make sure I make the decisions that are best for the team throughout the game. And so from timeouts to managing the clock and things like that. And so for me, I'm doing a lot on a Friday night, but I count on my assistants. I know that there's a lot of great coaches out there. So when I hire people and I count on them to do a good job, and I listen to them and trust them as well. So, I try to include everybody and then kind of take information as it comes and then make a decision. And so I'm involved a lot in all three phases, but, I trust my coaches to do their job. So, but yeah, there's a lot of things that go on that people never even think about, where they just think, oh, they're just calling a run or a pass, and and so there's a lot more to it than that.
You a college or NFL guy?
I enjoy watching college football more. To be honest, I grew up a Cowboys fan, so I like watching the Cowboys, and that's still with me. But most of my NFL watching these days is really mostly just for fantasy, fantasy leagues and stuff like that. Aside from that, I enjoy watching colleges. I enjoy watching that, and they've kind of blurred the lines a little bit, with all the NIL and the transfer portal with college now. So it's not quite the same for me. I enjoy watching football just in general, as opposed to, that. But as far as is it college or is it NFL? But I still feel there's that college campus and, student body thing that's there with college football. So I enjoy that over, NFL.
Well, at first, whenever the NIL thing came out, I didn't like that idea because you got all these guys transferring and playing 7-8 years for 3 or 4 different schools.
Yep.
And making all this money. And I didn't like that idea because they're not playing.
No.
Really, they're playing for themselves, and it's a team sport. But like I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were breaking it down. And I mean, there's still a lot of guys at every school, honestly, that do play for the pride of that university.
Yeah.
Like University of Tennessee, for instance. I watched their game the other day, and they probably got a lot of guys on their roster who have transferred because it's a pretty good SEC program that made the playoff last year. But it's also a Division I SEC, it's in my opinion, a great program that probably has a lot of in-state kids who grew up watching the Volunteers and loved them and dreamed of playing there. So I feel like it's a little bit of both, but I think it's I don't really mind it now after hearing that perspective, but it does aggravate me whenever you got a kid that don't want to sit. Jalen Hurts, he sat. I think he sat. He supported Tua, or whenever that went down, and then after the season, he transferred and then made something at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
The rest of these questions are going to be just like that one, just quick and easy.
Okay.
What's your favorite football movie, if you have one?
Oh man, there are. Gosh, I don't know. There's a lot of good sports movies out there, and when it comes to football, I like the historical part of Remember the Titans. And, I know there's obviously in all these movies, there's the theatrical part and, the dramatization of things for movie purposes and all that. And I get all that. But I think they did a pretty good job overall with that one. I like We Are Marshall. Again, there's some history to that that's pretty cool. I like the way they redid that one. Friday Night Lights is, I know that they didn't do everything the way that it was really happened in real life, but just the whole high school football community behind them and all that kind of stuff was still, just I really like that part of it, of Friday Night Lights. So those three, I really have enjoy watching. But anytime there's a football movie on, any given Sunday, man, is a cool movie too, and kind of cheesy in a lot of ways, but it's just some of those things are just kind of about guys competing and trying to become a team, and you have different personalities and trying to figure out how to manage those, and those guys come together for a common cause. That's so much of what football is about, trying to teach kids how to live life, and be unified with the people you're working with, the people you're living with, and just a lot of those things. And so I love that aspect of it. If you said, "Hey, let's put a football movie on right now. Let's watch one." Um, I'd probably go with Friday Night Lights is probably the one I would probably go with, or Remember the Titans of Friday Night Lights. I don't know. I'd probably the mood I was in, but I could just as soon turn on Invincible, and watch that, So there's a lot of good ones out there, but those are probably my two favorite. We could also go back to the Junction Boys and that kind of stuff. That's a lot of fun to watch as well. So, but all of those are great movies, and I definitely wouldn't turn any one of them off if they came on.
We Are Marshall, Remember the Titans, Friday Night Lights. No specific order, but just those three. Anything else, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, just one I just now thought of. I've never mentioned this one in any coach I've interviewed so far. Just randomly thought of it. Radio. It's not even really about football, but it is.
Yeah.
But that one's definitely forgotten about, because I forgot about it until just now.
Sure. Yeah.
Coach Clawson, would you rather win a game 58-56 or 6-0?
I had a coach when I was growing up in junior high and high school, and he always said a W's a W, and especially in Texas high school football, they're not easy to come by. Wins are not easy to come by, and you're guaranteed 10 in a year. Well, you're supposed to be. Obviously, we've had COVID and we've had hurricanes and weather and stuff that sometimes cuts people's seasons a little shorter than they're supposed to be, but you're supposed to be guaranteed 10, and you try to win as many of those as you can, and then hopefully you can get a few bonus ones. And so, anytime you can get a win, I'm good with it. And, I think when it comes down to it, I think everybody knows that most fans would rather see the 58-56 game, with the scoring and the back and the forth and all that sort of stuff. But for me, I'd probably say that sometimes those games take a couple of years off of your life, and I'd probably enjoy the 6-0 game a little bit more, because it's a dogfight and we're just somebody's trying to break through, and whereas the other way, you're obviously your defense is not stopping them, and it's fun to score, but it's almost more frustrating that you're like, well, are we going to stop them this time? Can we stop them once? But then we've got to score every time and stuff. And so if it came down to it and you asked me, I'd say 6-0.
I used to be the 58-56 guy. Like, that's the game I wanted to watch.
Right.
Then the last few years, I've just been all about defense. Like, I like a good defensive game. And I got to see one Friday night. I did go to a good defensive game Friday night until it wasn't. Next question. Would you rather win a game and winning is winning, I know, but would you rather win from a game-winning touchdown or a goal line stand?
That's a great question. That, there's something almost like, you kind of talk about baseball. There's almost something romantic about winning a game, by a game-winning touchdown. But I think you see that more often than you see a goal line stand, especially nowadays, with the way offenses are. And a goal line stand to me is something that it says a lot about your team. Being tough and disciplined, and you can have a busted play and somebody score a touchdown. But for a defense to have a goal line stand, you have a whole bunch of guys doing their job, being tough, coming together, and figuring out a way to keep somebody from getting in the end zone. And so I think at the heart of football for me, it'd be a goal line stand.
Yeah, because and like you just said, you got to have 11 guys who's trying to keep them out of the end zone, because we're at the end of the game. If they score, they win type of
Mm-hmm.
thing. But you also, on the other side of the ball, you got 11 guys who are going to do everything they can to get the ball in the end zone. So that's why I like the goal line stand more. You don't see it
Sure.
as much, like you said, but I have seen it quite a few times, and I get excited every time. I'll go to random games. I went to back in 2019. I went and watched Gladewater and West Rusk at West Rusk, and Gladewater won on a goal line stand. And I was like, you would have thought I was a Gladewater Bear that night.
That's awesome. That's pretty fun to get into a game like that, be emotionally tied to it.
I know, because for a long time, like I've always went to just random games. What I think this will be a good game. Let me go to it, and I just sit there like everyone's excited, and I'm just like, whatever. Like I don't like this team.
Yeah.
But every now and again, I'll go to a game and I'll get like excited and hyped up. I'm like, dang, I feel like I'm from this town. It's scenario time now.
Okay.
I think there's probably many ways you can answer this scenario, but I want to see. I'll just ask the scenario.
Okay.
So defensive game, you're down 14-7 in this game. Good news though, you got the ball, first and goal on the 10-yard line. No timeouts left, and 2 minutes left in the game. 2 minutes left, no timeouts. Your ball, first and goal on the 10-yard line. Your obviously goal is to get the ball in the end zone. Well, just run me through how you go through that. 2 minutes left, no timeouts. First and 10, or first and goal on the 10. Defensive game. Can you walk me through that?
Sure.
About getting the ball in the end zone and what you do after you get the ball in the end zone?
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. You're going to get the ball in the end zone, okay? Because that's the scenario.
Sure.
I don't know how much the crowd. This is what I want to know. I don't know how much crowds influence you to make decisions, but the Woodville Eagle fan base is telling you to go for it. Go for the 2-point conversion
Yeah.
for the win. But if you score too quickly, you give these guys time. So just run me through this whole entire scenario of how you handle this situation.
It's funny you bring this up because my second year in Elgin, we came up to this almost exact scenario. We weren't quite as close to the goal line, but we got the ball with, I don't know, about 3.5 minutes left, and we were down, and we'd been up the whole game. We were playing Waco University at our place, and we'd been 0-10 the year before. My first year there, after they hadn't made the playoffs in 9 years. It was tough, and so we were in a position to, if we beat Waco University, who was really good that year, and if we beat them, then we're almost for sure in the playoffs, and probably at least third. And we get they came back on us in the second half. We're up 21-7 at the half. They came back on us because they were faster than us, just more athletic. We just had played a really good game and had a good game plan for them. But they broke through on us. So we got the ball with about 3.5 minutes left and down. And I said it was 35-28. And I told the guys as we took the kickoff return and we start to go to, get the offense on the sideline to make the call for the first play of the drive. I said, guys, I said, we obviously aren't going to stop these guys. Like, we can't stop them anymore. And so if we score, we're going for 2. And or I said, no, I said when we score, because I just, tried to speak it into existence. I said, when we score, we're going for 2. And they're like, absolutely. They agreed with me. And I have no idea what the crowd was thinking. I usually don't hear a ton of things from the crowd. I really don't hear much from the crowd. I kind of figured out how to tune them out for the most part. But we're driving, and we have a timeout. And I didn't want to leave them any time. If we could score with 0 seconds on the clock, it would be perfect. And so we're driving, and I start hearing the fans just screaming at me that I'm letting the clock run, and that we need to hurry up, or I need to call a timeout. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure that those seconds are ticking. And so we get down the field, and we had I found something on film that they did that we could really hurt them with, and we had hurt them a couple times. And so we're on about the 30-yard line, and there's under a minute to go. And again, I'm literally hearing people just screaming at me, like they were right next to me, that what are we doing? Why are we not calling timeout? So we ran a motion and a play that we'd heard them with a couple times already, and they'd just shown in their coverage that they blew. It was just a schematical thing. And anyway, we had our best receiver down the pipe. He's open over the top, and we score with 32 seconds left, I think, which scared me. 32 seconds scared me, the way they were so fast and athletic. So anyway, I told them we're going for 2 because we can't stop them. If we go to overtime, we weren't going to stop them. So then it was going to have to be, they'd have to screw up or something for us to beat them. And so I said, we were at home, and most people say you go play for the tie at home and you go for 2 on the road. But anyway, we go for it. I actually called timeout. I used my timeout on the 2-point conversion and said, when I saw how they lined up to us, and I said, I was trying to give us a run pass option play and all that. And the kids were like, Coach, run the ball. And I said, man, I really like our quarterback having the option to run it in, if or find a guy who's open or whatever. And they're like, Coach, we did all, we started lifting weights. You told us that was the biggest thing we could make up on was doing weights and all that. Run the ball. We'll drive them in the end zone. We got it. And I said, okay, so I trusted my players like they had trusted me, and to help them prepare and each week and prepare for the season and all those things. And they drove them in the end zone, and we scored the 2-point conversion. And then those 32 seconds, I was scared to death. Everybody was just, screaming, we won the game. And I'm like, guys, there's 32 seconds. These guys are awesome. They got in our territory and dang near scored. I think they got down to about the 35-yard line, ran out of time. And it was scary, but we won 36-35, and it was so much fun. And a lot of people were like, man, you went for 2. I can't believe that. And did you ask, how did you come up with that? And what was the decision? And I'm like, it was a simple fact that we couldn't stop them anymore. Like we were done stopping them. We'd stopped them a little bit in the first half. It was over. So when we scored, we had to go for 2 to win that game. And so everything else was basically off the table. But the energy that night was pretty fun. And so I think some of it obviously was feel. And that's a lot of times I feel certain things throughout the game and the way things are going, or maybe that we have somebody in a situation. And so a lot of it would come down to the feel of that game. And if we felt like we had something on them that we know we're going to get 3 yards, and get that 2-point conversion. If it's been that good of a defensive game and our defense has stopped them throughout the game, and I feel confident in that, then I'd go for the tie. It also depends on, your field goal unit, your PAT unit and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of things that for me, when you get into a game, that as you go through it, it's the feel of the game and kind of where you're at in that moment. And so that's more it for me than listening to the crowd or anything else. It's really what's the situation and where we at that moment.
Yes, sir. I always wondered. I didn't figure crowds influenced much because, which I mean, I know people like me, people who are in the stands on Friday nights, we sometimes tend to think that we can do your job better than you.
Yeah.
And if, God forbid, you listen to them and you do what they tell you to do and it don't work out, you're at fault.
Yep.
How long have you lived in Woodville? Like 5 months, 6 months?
Well, so my family and actually moved the weekend after the 4th. And so, really, as far as my family and I being here, it's a little over 2 months. I started on May 5th. And so I would, was here during the week, and then would go back with my my family in Elgin until we moved them here. But so yeah, if you want to say, yeah, how long have I been here? May, June, July, August, and or 4.5 months, whatever is kind of what I've been here.
Where is Elgin at?
Just outside of Austin, just east of Austin. If you're 290, like you're heading toward Houston, out of Austin. I mean, like 20 miles from the UT campus.
Okay. Well, if I decide to come watch Woodville play this year, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know who. I'll have to look at the schedule. I mean, I know who you play because it's going to be district after Diboll.
Yeah.
But I'll have to see your home games. But if I decide to make that drive, for me, it's about probably an hour and 45 minutes. I'm going to get hungry along the way. Where's a good spot to get some grub at in Woodville, Texas?
People laugh at me when I tell them this, but when I look at moving, for a job, whatever, I found out that your daily living is really important. There's a lot of things that factor into it, but your daily living is important, and one of those things is places to go eat. And so when I look at a place, I look at what there is to eat around there, and most of the bigger towns or cities, you have plenty of places to choose from, but in smaller towns, not so much. And so when I looked up and saw, I thought, man, Woodville's got several restaurants. They got pretty good ratings on it and all that. And so I talked to my cousin, and he goes, yeah, there's some really good places to eat. But if somebody's coming in, probably the two, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a variety, I'd say go to Elijah's here in town. They've got a lot of different things. They do a great job. And they bring hot rolls and cornbread, fresh cornbread out before your meal, and you can't hardly beat that. If you want to go to good, just straight home cooking, and they'll keep bringing this food. It's all you can eat. You can go to the Picket House, and they bring kind of like Babe's Chicken in DFW area. They bring you fried chicken out there, and then they bring the sides, and they just keep bringing them if you want them. And so just kind of depend. If you want some good fried chicken, go to the Picket House and home cooking. If you want a variety and you're not sure what you want, go to Elijah's.
I might have to make a trip down there then, because those sound like pretty good places.
Oh yeah.
Well, Coach, that's all I got. Honestly, went over what I expected, but hey, it happens whenever you get to talking. But yeah, that's all I got for you. You don't have anything for me, I guess. Hopefully not, because I'm not good at answering questions.
No, I appreciate you having me on, and I know a lot of people love to listen to this kind of stuff because they want to hear some insights and inside information, all that. And, when it comes down to it, man, we work with kids on a daily basis, just like parents work with their own kids, and the difference is that, we're trying to get them to, some of the stuff is very much the same. We want them to behave, we want them to take care of their business in the classroom and all that. But, the difference is that we're trying to get 14 to 18-year-old kids, to come together, get on the same page, do things right, and you're talking about teenage boys, and all the things going on there, and trying to get them to come together as a team and give up their self for the team, and stuff like that. And man, especially today's time, man, it is hard to do, and they have to trust us, and into society and social media and everything else, man, it's even harder for kids to trust us and know that we have their best interest in mind. We're trying to build something that's about something more than each individual person. And so that's the hardest part about all this, and pulling from, parents, fans, different people talking to them, friends, peers, and all this. That's the hardest part of our job, honestly, is getting those kids to trust that we have the best interest in them, we care about them, and we're going to help them try to be a great athlete and win games. But we want them to be great people when they leave us, and that's the hardest part of our job, honestly. And, that's about the only difference in being a parent and trying to do what we're doing. And so I hope that, people listening to your show can get some neat stuff from it and realize that, that we care about these kids, and we're trying to have some fun through the game of football, but man, we're just trying to help these kids, learn some life lessons and be great young men whenever they leave us.
Well, like I said, this is all I got.
Well, I appreciate it, Connor, man, and I hope let me know when you head our way, and if you want to come catch that Newton game, I know it's going to be a big one for us.
That's a home game for y'all?
Yes, sir.
All right, yes, sir. I'm gonna have to look at the schedule, like I said, but every coach I interview, I'm like, I'm gonna go. I got to go to one of your games. I got to go to one of your games, and I know this is week 4. By week 7 or 8, I'm gonna have my hands full because I've already interviewed. I think this is my 8th coach to interview. So thankfully, they play football on Thursday nights now too.
There you go.
But any chance I got to go to a game where I've interviewed 2 coaches that are playing each other, I'm going to take that opportunity.
There you go.
One coach, he was like, "I'll put you on the sidelines to let you call a play." I'm like, "Bet."
There you go.
Yes, sir. I got to get what I can.
Well,
but
if it's not too tight of a game, I'll make that deal with you too.
Well, thank you for letting me interview you, Coach. I hope you guys stay healthy, and the Woodville people want to get that monkey off your back and take Newton down.
We're gonna give it a shot.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Thanks, you too.